Hi, everybody. Welcome to New Frontiers in Functional Medicine, where we are interviewing the best minds in functional medicine. And of course, today is no exception. Let me give you a little background on this podcast and introduce you to my amazing guest today, and we will jump right in. Today's podcast is sponsored by Integrative Therapeutics. For over 35 years, patients and clinicians have trusted Integrative Therapeutics for their dedication to quality, potency, and accuracy, and bring you exclusive products backed by science. Dr. Sonia Malani, FABNO, is my guest today. She's a board-certified physician, author, and researcher. She's actually engaged in some pretty cool epigenetic research as we speak. I just learned. She graduated from Bastyr University, followed by a residency at Ames Institute in Seattle. Tenacious in understanding the root cause of disease, she's actively conducting research, currently working on clinical trials for complex cases and to support thrivers nationwide. Dr. Malani, welcome to New Frontiers.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here.
Well, let's dive in. So we're going to talk about the wonderment of curcumin, all things curcumin. So tell me about the history and, just some of the amazing uses through time.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm actually coming to you live from India, so it's a perfect opportunity to speak about curcumin.
Yes.
Such a well-known Ayurvedic and Indian spice. So curcumin has been around for a very, very long time. It's the medical constituent of the turmeric root. So we're probably all familiar with the turmeric root. We've seen the turmeric powder at grocery stores, but sort of that component that has medicinal properties to it is known as curcumin. It's been used in Ayurvedic medicine for a very, very long time and has been used I think most people know it as something that helps promote a really healthy inflammatory response. And it's still used in that regard today. It's been around for so long, but the beautiful thing about it now is that there's an abundance of research that's being done on curcumin and really being shown now using modern scientific methods. We're now able to show what we've known in the Indian culture and the Ayurvedic culture for a very, very long time. So that we're going to dive into it today.
Well, tell me, I just want to dig into it a little bit more, because you are in India and do have kind of a nice position you sit in to understanding both uses. So it was recognized as being for inflammation way back in the day. Like, how did they describe it and how did they use it? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, so turmeric has always been really kind of innate to the Indian spices and Indian cooking. So it's used in almost every single majority of dishes. It has, that kind of potent yellow color to it. So if you see some Indian foods, whether it's rice or things like dokla that are, have that yellow tinge to it, that yellow is coming from the turmeric. So, not only was it used kind of for its medicinal properties, but it was also used for its beautiful color to make the food look vibrant and look appealing. But, from an kind of Ayurvedic perspective, it's been used by so many amazing Ayurvedic doctors as something that can help promote a healthy inflammatory response, something used in joint health, something used in kind of muscle recovery and thinking about how to support the overall body and the musculoskeletal system. And then also, it's in some formulations for detoxification, as well as some immune support as well. And, again, it's pretty amazing to see science confirm what what kind of the Ayurvedic doctors have been telling us for so long in terms of what curcumin can really do for the human body.
Let me just add to that in a really enormous exclamation point, in my opinion. As you and I were talking about, I'm also engaged in research using DNA looking at epigenetic or gene expression via patterns of DNA methylation. And it's no surprise that we see curcumin in cell studies. I have to say, these are cell studies. Like this body of research and looking at gene expression is relatively new, but we can see curcumin being what I call in my world an epinutrient, meaning that it influences in this really elegant and favorable way in cell studies the favorable gene expression. And I just think that is so cool. And I can say that one of my speculations, my personal thinking, is that some of these pleomorphic benefits of curcumin will we discover that there's something rooted in its ability to, really nuance favorable gene expression.
Right. Yeah. And that kind of goes into how do we deliver curcumin properly, right? Because
Good.
it is extracted from the turmeric root, but curcumin is poorly absorbed and very quickly excreted or eliminated. And, that's another part of it. I think part of the reason why it's been used in food and used in cooking is because synergistically there's more absorption when it's combined with a lot of those things, right? So, something that a lot of people are also probably familiar with is the concept of golden milk, or adding turmeric to a cup of milk. And part of the reason why that was so popular and derived in the Indian culture is because when you combine curcumin or turmeric with a fat, like the fat in milk, you actually increase the bioavailability and increase the absorption. And so there's been all of these different preparations over the past, hundreds of years that have tried to figure out, well, we know curcumin is so amazing, but how do we actually get the amazing benefits out of it? Originally, one way that it was started in kind of the supplement industry was combining curcumin with black pepper, pepperine, because the concept of potentially increasing thermogenesis was something that actually derived also from Ayurvedic medicine. The stomach is known as kind of that organ that contains your fire. That stomach acid is has a lot of heat and has this fire to it. And so if you can increase that fire using black pepper, then you could, in theory, increase the absorption of curcumin. So that was one original way that it was kind of delivered to kind of a mass population.
Did that bear out? I mean, combining it, there are definitely, product designs. There's certainly talk about always using it with pepper. Is there evidence for that being the case?
There is evidence that combining curcumin with black pepper is better than combining it without anything, right? However, there has been a lot of advancements in curcumin delivery technology.
Well, so before you go too sophisticated, I want to back up, because I do want to hear about curcumin delivery systems. I think that's essential, but I want to know whether we can actually achieve enough in our diet. I'm always suggesting that people, I love golden milk. I love it. I love a good mug of golden milk or a delicious curry. I will say that I tend to supplement, and we could talk about that a little bit more because I'm not consuming it every day. But so question number one, can we get enough in our diet? Can we get enough? Can we deliver enough? Or would we need to be eating like we were in India, where it's basically introduced into everything? But can we achieve it? And we need to combine it with fat, and we need to combine it with pepper. But anyways, just speak to whether we can do that.
Yes. Okay. So I love this question because this is one of the things that I love educating patients on. And I find that pretty much every patient comes to me saying like, oh, I'm already taking turmeric, I'm already taking curcumin, like I'm already doing everything right. But I love breaking down kind of what the body needs versus what you're getting in some of the supplements. And so let me just also tell you, so for example, a teaspoon of fresh turmeric, so the turmeric powder, has about 200 milligrams of curcumin in it. And clinical doses range anywhere from 1,000 milligrams to up to 8,000 milligrams.
Right.
So if you think about it, on average, I, usually am recommending around 2,000 milligrams or 2 grams. And so that's about 10 teaspoons of turmeric powder, which is a lot if you've you tried to eat that. Normally in Indian cooking, it's used kind of as a pinch, again, to give that vibrant color. And so it's really not consumed at least in the South Asian diet in that kind of mass amount. Is it possible to get enough from food? Potentially, but I really do think, if we're able to work with some of the advancements in curcumin delivery, then that is a much better route than trying to get up to 10 teaspoons, if not more.
Yeah, right. And when you're trying to exert a therapeutic influence, so you're actually working with patients, it's different than you're already really healthy and you're focused on getting things through food. Dose. It's just not even comparable. So when you want to exert a real therapeutic influence, it seems to me that you're going to be eating a ton, and it's going to be hard. You're going to have to eat it with all sorts of
Exactly.
fat and so forth. I probably
And
would not be successful in that.
from a maintenance perspective, it may be possible, just kind of, again, promoting a healthy inflammatory response and maintaining, kind of health. However, like you said, when using it in a more clinical setting, adding 10 teaspoons of turmeric to your golden milk may not be very tasty.
No. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I agree. So I want to talk about, I guess I have a couple questions. We're going to move into supplements, but maybe before we go, structurally, why is it like so poorly absorbed?
Yes, so curcumin actually has a crystalline structure, which is the reason why it's not as bioavailable. And so, and that's been, when we talk about how to actually get the increase of bioavailability and increase the absorption, that crystalline structure has been kind of the biggest rate limiting step. How do we get around that, or how do we again pair the structure of curcumin with something that will help increase the absorption? But there has been some really amazing advancements in completely changing the structure of curcumin and making it more of an amorphous form, which has increased the bioavailability and absorption significantly.
Huh. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so it's this crystalline structure. We've figured out how to tweak it, which increases the bioavailability.
So I can give you an example that I think would help. So if you think about sugar has a very crystalline structure as well. And if you heat sugar up and then cool it really quickly, what you can create out of that is actually cotton candy, right? That's how cotton candy is
that's
created.
cotton candy. I was thinking caramel.
Yeah, you heat it up really quickly, cool it, and your crystalline structure of sugar now becomes kind of amorphous. So when you heat it up, it dissolves, and then when you cool it really quickly, it kind of solidifies back in this amorphous structure. So it's no longer that crystalline structure. And that's what allows it to actually melt in your mouth, which we all love that cotton candy sensation melting in your mouth. And that's similar to what we have now with a lot of research. There's been some amazing developments in curcumin that have been able to create that sort of amorphous structure of curcumin, take the crystalline form, very, very similar, and in a very similar fashion to cotton candy, melting it down, cooling it quickly, and creating amorphous structure out of that crystalline structure.
Well, that begs the question then I have to, as to how is this amorphous structure therapeutically as active as the crystalline structure?
The submicron particle colloidal dispersion is 27 more times than standard curcumin extract, but the amorphous version is about 3 times more bioavailable than the submicron one. So we're seeing a significantly large increase in the bioavailability of this amorphous structure. And from a therapeutic benefit, we're still able to get that the therapeutic benefit of curcumin.
Okay, so we're showing way more bioavailability and clinical outcome
right?
commensurate with that increased bioavailability. Go ahead. Yeah.
And just to speak to the research, that amorphous formulation was shown in a single dose, double-blind, 2-way crossover study, and it was shown to be 3 times more bioavailable than the submicron particle colloidal dispersion. So, there's more research that's underway that's really exciting as well, using this in more kind of a therapeutic fashion, looking at it in cognitive impairment and things like that. So, we're seeing that it has more bioavailability, and now we're seeing, well, how can we apply that to different situations?
All right, so it's significantly more bioavailable. and that's been demonstrated. We're using it in clinical practice. I mean, I should say I'm not yet, but I am excited to try it since I'm learning from you now and we've been dialoguing about it. It just sounds incredibly interesting. And I appreciate the energy to bring this product forward, just, understanding the kind of attention that's gone to bring this new preparation forward. So Mike, and I'll be thrilled to pay attention to the clinical research on. So I've got two questions. My first one is, how are you dosing this differently compared to previous types of curcumin you've used in practice?
So when there was a study that showed kind of the plasma concentration of this new sort of amorphous form of curcumin versus the previous predecessor, which is a submicron particle colloidal dispersion. And what we're seeing is that the plasma level increases significantly right after dosing this product, and then does have more viability throughout sort of the next few hours. And so when it comes to dosing, it's not really necessary to change the dosing recommendations, because you're still getting, you're getting a significant dose, but you may not have to use as much, right? So if we're seeing that plasma concentrations are increasing, you may not have to use as much to get the same benefit. And from a kind of, maybe a more holistic perspective, thinking about maybe the financial burden that takes off patients is really amazing, because if they don't have to use as much of their product, and if they can get the same benefit without having to go through bottles and bottles of a curcumin supplement, then that really helps out our patient from the financial strain and stress point as well. And so not necessarily changing like milligrams or gram dosage recommendations, but we have a product that has a bioavailability, so patients are getting the bang for their buck.
That's pretty interesting. Okay. Again, I have to say, I look forward to trying it out. Let's talk about other typical curcumin preparations. So somebody's going to go into the health food store and see, 18 different curcumin products. What are those like? And what would you say if I know you can't speak to all the products, but in general, the bioavailability of OTC, curcumin products?
Right. And to take you back to the history a little bit as well. So some of the first formulations were using curcumin alongside black pepper, right? That concept of increasing bioavailability by, kind of increasing that thermogenesis that black pepper can create. So that was one of the first iterations. And then companies started using standardized curcumin extract with turmeric essential oil, thinking that, maybe that could increase the bioavailability. And to some extent, it was, in a better product potentially. And then it moved to liposomal format. So this is when we combined, a fat with curcumin, but in more of a phospholipid kind of format. And that for a while was a really high quality and increase the bioavailability of curcumin. And after that, around that same time, also phosphatidylcholine was being used combined with curcumin to increase the bioavailability. So there's been, what's brilliant about all of this and what really should be appreciated is how much research has gone in to figuring out. We know curcumin is poorly absorbed and excreted very quickly. So there's been so much research, to see how can we keep increasing the bioavailability. And I love looking back, seeing all the iterations at, the different products and the different formulations, the different delivery technologies to be able to get patients this really amazing medicine. The most recent formulation of curcumin has been this submicron particle colloidal dispersion. And I know that sounds like a whole bunch of words. Obviously, it's kind of like a word salad in your mouth, but that was using kind of finely milled turmeric and combining it with glycerin and a vegetable gum called gum gadi. And that allowed the curcumin to be dispersed a little bit better, had more stability in water, and also allowed the bioavailability to be higher. So those are all of the kind of delivery formats that we've seen. But to speak to your question in terms of products and what, you know, people are seeing at their pharmacy or grocery store, I think the most important thing is to be reading the labels, because what we'll find is that not every curcumin supplement or curcumin product is standardized to a specific type of curcumin extract. So we'll see, like, you know, usually you'll see on the back of products, when it comes to the ones that are combined with black pepper or the turmeric essential oils, that they've been standardized to 95% curcumin extract. And you want to make sure that you're getting, you know, a product that does have that high percentage of curcumin extract, because otherwise, you know, you're in some ways taking a product that doesn't have enough curcumin in it, right? So you want to make sure that the standardized extract is there. And then you know, also want to be speaking to a practitioner who's educated in this to help you figure out the right dose for your specific situation. Because as I spoke about earlier, you know, there's different ways to use curcumin. You know, there's been a lot of research around using it to help promote a healthy inflammation response, and for joint pain and heart health and detoxification pathways, some minor pain relief, sports recovery. And so you want to make sure that you're working with someone who can educate you on how to dose it properly for your situation.
Right. Okay. So then a standardized curcumin product that has reasonable bioavailability could be good, but you're still there's still going to be a limitation on exactly how bioavailable that is.
Right. And how much you can take, right? So if you are getting, you know, a product that maybe is combined with black pepper and it's only maybe like 20 milligrams of curcumin, then you're going to have to take a lot more pills multiple times a day, potentially, in order to get the dose that you may need.
And it's expensive. Let me just say,
Exactly.
You know, I actually bought some OTC curcumin recently because I ran out, and I do tend to take some most days. And it was incredibly expensive, and it was standardized, but it was very low dose. I mean, I just ended up moving through it, you know, quite rapidly. And yeah, and so it wasn't, you know, economically speaking, it was, there were a ton of capsules and it was a big bottle, but I had to take a ton to really experience benefit. And I think that happens all the time. I think that's what we're confronting
all the time. Either you have to take a lot to get the benefit, or what I see, you know, almost daily in clinical practice is clients coming in who are underdosing, right? Because they're like, oh, the bottle says 2 capsules, so I'm taking 2, and that's totally understandable. But unfortunately, in 2 capsules, they're only getting they may be getting a very small amount of curcumin. So I think that's kind of heartbreaking for me, because they're expecting, you know, a result, and they're like, oh, I've been taking this for months. And I have to educate them that, hey, for your situation, we need a little bit higher dose. And that's why, you know, for me specifically, kind of being in practice and also doing research, it really is important to me that the delivery technology that we're educating patients on, and in this situation, the, you know, kind of amorphous structure of curcumin is well researched. Because if it is well researched and it's been shown in these trials to actually have that bioavailability and have that, you know, peak plasma concentration, then at least we can say with certainty to our patients, you know, we know you're taking this product and you're getting a good quality, and you're getting the right dose. And as a side note, you know, when I was a naturopathic student, I used to be a brand student rep for Integrative Therapeutics. And one of the things that we got to do as being the student representatives was we got to fly down to Green Bay, where they kind of have their headquarters and warehouses.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we got a site tour, and this was in my first year of medical school. So it was, you know, I was quite impressionable. I was learning a lot about just botanical medicine in general. And what was amazing is, you know, you can have all these incredible plants, right? But if you can't get the plants in a proper format to the patient, then, you know, it doesn't really matter what plant you're studying or what plant you're researching. And so watching kind of Integrative Therapeutics' process, not only when it comes to like quality assurance, but then also the research that they put behind and their in-house teams, was really, really amazing, because you know, now being in practice, I want to make sure my patients are getting a good quality. And when I can say like, hey, I'm recommending this, you know, supplement to you, and I've actually been to the warehouse where they make it, and I've been to their headquarters, I think I think it holds a little bit more weight, right? Because your clients kind of know that, oh, there's my doctor's looked into this, right? So that's just something I really love about the company, is just that they are so transparent with all of that. And it's really putting kind of the client and the patient first. It feels like to me.
Well, I mean, and the other thing, to just love on integrative therapeutics a little bit, but I've been using them for, forever. I mean, I was using them in my training as well when I was a student and beyond, but they definitely put some energy into getting the more sophisticated preparations and kind of hanging their hat on these delivery systems where there's a bunch of science behind it. I mean, we could talk about a lot of the products that they've successfully done that with, that I've either interviewed them about or written about, et cetera, over the years. And just, it's cool.
Right.
And here they are now, kind of moving forward, moving the bar ahead with this curcumin preparation. And, prior to this particular preparation, they had what was arguably the best product out there before in the, well, I'll let you say the word well, I'll try it. Submicron particle colloidal dispersion.
Yeah, you got it.
And that was, that was the product that most of us were using in practice. And I think that we still will, but certainly I'll be kicking the tires on this new product. All right. So what's the name of this new amorphous curcumin preparation?
Right. So Curcumin is the name for the delivery format that is the amorphous structure of the curcumin. So we have that increased bioavailability and the research behind Curcumin.
Cool. Okay, cool. What else do we want to talk about regarding this amazing Curcumin product? Clinical studies that are currently underway we've already demonstrated that it's really bioavailable, that it exceeds bioavailability, and that therefore likely patients will not be required to take as much, and therefore ultimately it should be more effective and more affordable together, which is amazing. And there's there's research right now in cognitive decline. Okay.
Right. So there's a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial that's underway that will study the effects of 450 milligrams of Curcumin daily on cognitive function in adults that have mild cognitive impairment. So that's known as MCI. And this protocol has already been peer reviewed, and it's been published. And so we're excited to kind of see the results from that trial once it's done.
And 450 milligrams as opposed to the 2 grams that you're recommending. Is that correct? So it's significantly less, or
so
go ahead.
450 milligrams of the Curcumin. And just to give you an idea, so Curcumin contains 40% of curcumin, and 2 capsules of Curcumin is 450 milligrams, and it contains 90 milligrams of curcumin. So the trial that we just spoke about in the cognitive impairment actually has these participants taking 2 capsules of Curcumin, which is at 450 milligrams that we're speaking of.
Okay, but this is less than what we were talking about before when you were recommending a full 2 grams to your patients of the previous preparation.
Exactly.
This is less than half. So this is really in keeping with the improved bioavailability requiring less.
Right, exactly.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah. Right. And so it allows our patients to not have to swallow as many pills, which is super important as well. A lot of them feel sick and don't want to have to worry about taking things twice a day and 3 times a day. And so having a product where that the bioavailability is increased, and that you're getting that peak plasma concentration that is higher than previous delivery formats is really important for our patients.
I'm excited to try it. I am. Are you recommending it with food, without? Are you recommending it to take it with fat? Probably doesn't matter. This is some of the background recommendations that we standardly make, but we don't necessarily need to.
Yes. So in regards to with or without food, this one doesn't really matter now that we have this sort of amorphous structure. And then also it does not need to be combined with a fat, because through the process of taking that crystalline structure of curcumin and creating an amorphous structure, you've actually increased the bioavailability from just that alone. So you don't need to pair it with black pepper or a fat to help increase the bioavailability. And if you think about kind of going back to that cotton candy example, how if you just think about kind of trying to mix sugar in a room temperature cup of water, how much force you have to put to kind of get that sugar to dissolve in a cup of water versus putting cotton candy in that cup of water, it would melt directly, right? So think about it like that when we're thinking about these curcumin preparations. That standardized curcumin extract is like those cubes of sugar that are really hard to, you have to mix and mix and mix before they dissolve. But this amorphous structure or amorphous format of curcumin is like that cotton candy. So you can put it right in water and it's much more dispersible. It, it mixes with water a lot easier. And that's why we're seeing the increased bioavailability.
Awesome. Awesome. Folks, I want to just bring your attention to our show notes where we're going to gather together information about this new product, Curcumin. And we can also talk about, we can link to the previous preparations, the submicron product, et cetera. And, we'll just gather everything that we can and pop it into the show notes for your own, training and edification. All right, Dr. Malani, it was just really awesome to talk to you today. Is there any other piece that you want to mention about Curcumin, or have we covered the main stuff?
I think we've covered quite a bit. I will just say that there is also a study using in joint health as well, and kind of looking at whether it's able to make a difference there. And so I imagine now that we have this, this delivery format, Curcumin, available, that there will be many more clinical trials underway. I'm sure maybe you and I would collaborate on one someday, but I think it's what's really beautiful about the team behind Curcumin as well is that they're really committed to continuing this clinical research. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Well, that's been the case with Integrative Therapeutics for a long time. I think they've just been a key player, in our industry in functional medicine and naturopathic medicine for many years, and their commitment to the science has always been there. Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on New Frontiers.
Thank you.